Hey guys, tonight I want to share with you some care instructions for your colorful, super soft sponge eggs. Now, these care instructions actually apply to any sponge item you're using, whether it's sponge balls, sponge rabbits, sponge eggs, sponge hammers, whatever sponge item you're using. It's important that the different colored sponges do not touch. You see, sponge is a synthetic material, which means that the dye is actually not infused in the fibers. Instead, it's clinging to the fibers. That's a fancy way of saying that it's not permanent. Over time, that dye will transfer, and you can see that, and get it in the right light there, you can see a little bit of blue has transferred from a blue sponge egg to this yellow one. After being stored together for 2 weeks, that began to transfer. Now from stage, that looks fine, but if you're going to be doing a sponge ball routine up close in somebody's hands, that looks a little dingy, especially if you're using different colors and in their light colors have dark starting to rub off on them. Anyway, that's why it's important to keep them separate. Our colorful sponge eggs are best stored in the carton that they're packaged in. You can actually, when this one wears out, you can toss it and replace it with the egg carton that you get from the store that you buy your eggs in. If it's also good for not only storing your eggs, but transporting them to and from your show if you're using all of them at once. Now you don't have to worry about color transfer during your show. Excuse me. If you're using an entire dozen or 2 dozen of these different colored eggs and they're all pressed together in a production item, they're going to be fine for an hour or two as far as the color transfer goes. It's only when they're stored together for weeks and months that that color has time to leach into the opposite colored egg. So no need to worry about during performance that color transfer. So store them separately. You can store them in the egg carton it comes in. You can buy a fancy hard plastic egg carton like this one that I purchased at Walmart. These are also on Amazon. You can actually go to the Dollar Tree, get a ice cube tray, and store your eggs in there. As long as the colors aren't touching, it doesn't matter what you store them in. Put them in Ziploc bags, like this one, little sandwich bags. I like going, because I don't always use an entire dozen in a show, I only use 1 or 2 sometimes. What I'll do is I'll use a little Easter egg. Now, this is just very satisfying to me. It's a little bit of my OCD. I put the orange one inside of the orange Easter egg, and seeing that there's something satisfying about nesting an egg inside of an egg. But I pre-moisten these. It's important. That's my second tip, is you want to moisten your sponges. Sponge is created to be absorbent, and it actually is healthy for the sponge to get wet. So you want to wet your sponges often, wring out all the extra moisture, and it's not only going to be better for your sponges, but it's going to look so much better on stage. Look at that. It's twice the size of the dry one. It has a little bit more of a shine in the light from the water, the moisture inside. And also look at it, it's a lot more springy than this one. So they just look and feel so much better when they're moist, when they're wet. So you want to store the colors separately. You want to make sure that you wet your sponges. And then to continue with care instructions, I want you to know that it's okay to wash your sponges. But don't use harsh chemicals like bleach. Bleach will actually dissolve the sponge, and you'll end up with a powder. It'll just start to fall apart in harsh chemicals like that. What you want to do to wash your sponge is you want to take just 1 or 2 drops of dish soap in a bowl of water, and then after you've dissolved the soap in the water, you'll take your sponge and just kind of knead it around in the water to get all the dirt and grime loose. And then once the dirt and grime has been loosened, you'll take it and just rinse it under the faucet, wring out all the water, and you have a clean sponge. If you're doing a lot of walk around magic where you're letting other people handle the sponges, or you're doing a routine where you're regularly putting them in and out of your mouth to do an endless egg production out of your mouth, then it's very important that you wash your sponges regularly. So store them separately, keep them moist, and keep them clean. Those are my care instructions for you today. I hope those help prolong the life of your sponge props, and you get years of use out of your colorful sponge eggs. Take care.